Tony's busy having their breakfast. But let's crack on. But oh dear. It's going to be another one of those muddy mornings, unfortunately. It is meant to be raining in a bit, but when that will be, who knows? It will just rain at some point and we'll just, see what happens. Oops, so there's it. Oh. But as always, we shall carry on and see where the morning takes us. So, Craig, good morning to you. Pardon me. Dave W, good morning to you. Cathal G, good morning to you from Dublin. Whoop, Daisy. But yes, good morning. Like I say, come on in, sit down. Patrick H, good morning to you. Like I say, good morning to everyone. Like I say, remember to click on the like and share button. Watch out for cowpats, indeed. Although, to be honest, it's that muddy in some places, it's difficult to tell the difference. Oh dear, we've got cow problems immediately, as we always do now. Maggie Pie, good morning to you. Like I say, good morning. So I'll do what they call vamping for a bit while we get more people in, because honestly, like I say, I really want to talk about the Navalny situation. So we'll save that for a bit. But I think we'll start with, whoops, Daisy, there we go. Talking more. Punnybird, greetings to you as well. Like I say, I do apologise if I missed anything in the chat or anything like that this morning. Like I say, it is... Oh. How am I going to get through there? Just straight up blocking the gate there, my friend. Oh dear. Can you move? I don't know. I can't slip under there. It's too wet to slip over. This might be a good morning walk under a tunnel because of you. Oh, but anyway. Yep, a wild cow appeared. This might be a good morning walk with the cow this morning. I now see why this morning there was a woman just coming up with a dog. This might be why she was trying to find an alternative route. I should have asked, was it the cows? Oh, Craig. Wondering if the Navalny situation might help push along the US aid package for Ukraine. Yes, it may or may not do. We'll see what happens. But like I say, we'll get into that in a moment. So don't worry about that. We'll cover that in a bit. But yeah, this is sort of changing my plans for what we're going to do this morning. Here I am hoping to go for a walk. And here we are, blocked by a cow. Cavalan, good morning to you. But yes, I think we have to sort of start off with the victory we had, the double by-election victory. That was, all honestly, quite amazing. I think it's going to cause the Tories a lot of problems. A good cowing to you two. Indeed. Oh. This is the worst thing. I can't try and push him out of the way because he's just gonna, he's a lot bigger at least than me. Oh. I can only just hope that he might move at some point. Try yodeling. Ben Ridings, morning. The unfortunate passing of Navalny will surely promote fresh protests soon. Ultimately, will be detrimental to Putin's populism. Oh, it will be. It will be. But anyway, Tories at the moment, before we get on to Putin stuff, because that's probably what we're going to end up talking about more about in a bit. So the fact that he has now lost this, and this morning, I don't know if you've heard the news this morning, he wants the Tories to come together after these by-election defeats. And this is like Rishi Sunak calling for unity. It's just like, have you just not been aware of what your party's been like? And now you're calling for unity around these by-election defeats. Okay. A bit too late for callers of unity now, Rishi. But ultimately, I think you're going to see a lot of conversations between Tories and their individual groups, I think, this weekend. Sunak, Tory Voltron assemble. Exactly. Voltron assemble and only the foot shows up. So yeah, it's not gonna happen. The idea that the Tories are suddenly gonna come together, it's not gonna happen. And there was even a poll recently. I think this was mentioned on the Rest is Politics with Alistair Campbell and Rory Stewart. There's a poll somewhere out there that shows the Tories might only win 9 seats. Now, I'm not that optimistic. I'm not that optimistic that they're going to come away with just 9 seats. I don't think the defeat on them is going to be that drastic, although they are going to get defeated. Obviously, the optimal number is less than 100. That's what we should be aiming for. I think that's very, very doable. Patrick H. just watched Byline TV about Wellingborough. Nothing can save them now. Oh, nothing will be able to save them. Even calls for them to try and, I don't know, get rid of Rishi. I don't see how they do it. Because you've got to go through a leadership contest. Leah, good morning to you. You've got to go through a leadership contest, which is not going to be short. There's a lot of these Tory fantasies going around that it's going to be quick. And it's really not. Hugh, good morning to you. So, yeah, it's not going to be quick at all. Humira, I think it was... who was it now? I'm seeking wisdom from you. No. Exactly. That's the big question. Who do you replace Rishi with? Because if that question has not been sufficiently answered, it's going to be chaos. It's going to be absolutely chaos. Yeah, Sunak isn't the problem. The entire party is. Yeah, exactly right, Maggie. Exactly right. And the only way you can solve this problem, as we've said right from the very beginning, if Sunak had been a more effective leader. But he's not. He doesn't show any traits of being an effective leader. He's time and time again shown points where he could be strong. Oh. I was hoping he might move then. He's shown time and time again he could be strong and then bottles it. So he could have removed the whip from a ton of different Conservatives. And he hasn't. And yet, what does that show you? He's completely weak. And the only thing he has in his back pocket is to call a general election, or at least the threat of calling a general election. But even then, that only works once. You can only really deploy that threat once. And then if they call your bluff on it, it's sort of blown your bluff. Ben Habib running Wellingborough, right? Yes, I think he was the reform candidate for Wellingborough. But as we said before, we've got more. We've got 2 new viewers now. So, yeah, this is honestly their big problem they've got now. You've got good idea that I turned the camera at that right moment. So, yeah, they have absolutely lost control of the party. There is no party unity. There is no way in a chance they are going to sort of come together and do this. It's just going to be an absolute chaos. And the general election is going to be even more fun. Because if you saw the clip that was also going around on Friday of Rishi Sunak, just, I don't know what's the best way to describe it, looked as if he'd been thrown in, like just completely just thrown into this situation, didn't know what he was doing for like a photo shoot opportunity. It just looked so awkward. No, I thought he was going to move. No. I had a hope that he was going to move, but no. Oh. So yeah, it does really come down to the fact of all these problems they are facing. And it's just, what do they do at this moment in time? You know, this call for unity isn't going to work. There's going to be, I can guarantee you, at some point, you will probably see, well, you might even see maybe on Monday morning, just as we saw a couple of weeks ago, a big push to replace Rishi. That might happen. They all might get together and might go, oh, we're going to try and replace Rishi. We'll see what happens if that happens. But, morning. Yeah.
Come on. Come on. Good girl. Come on.
Yeah.
Good girl. Good girl. Come on. I'm just enough room.
Yeah. The right side to do that for me. I couldn't reach that. But we can get through. Hooray! But we're through. And we'll tell you what, we'll go this way, I think, today. Oh, on me. Let's get through here. There we go. So much easier. Like I say, I couldn't reach the I couldn't reach what that guy was banging on, unfortunately. I was also to have done that. But anyway, we're walking at last. Hooray. A good morning walk as advertised. Oh, hang on, let's just move over into here, into the shade, and I can at least see the chat. There we go. Craig, you can tell the guy who's qualified now for a role of Tory Party chairman. Herding grumpy cows is legitimately good prior experience. Yes. Oh, that's very true. I mean, herding cats more likely is the I think the more appropriate expression at the moment. Oh, but anyway, we'll finish this off, then we'll move on to Russia. So expect something to happen, maybe this weekend, maybe it will happen next week, but it would not surprise me if we saw probably at least another attempt of some sort to call for the removal of Rishi. They're all going to get together and we're going to, remove Rishi. We're going to replace him with someone else. I can see that happening. Whether it will happen or not, who knows? But to be honest, I think at that point, Rishi just might go for a general election. Or he may even do a Theresa May and just go, you know what? I'm out. That would actually be quite hilarious to see if he just decided to, you know what? I'm out of here. You guys sort out this mess. Goodbye. Lee Anderson for PM. Oh my word. Oh my word. If somehow we lived in the universe where Lee Anderson became leader of the Tory party, oh, that would just be disaster after disaster. You know, there are just some people you just do not want to be the leader, and he would be one of them. Or at least I'd want him to be leader, because it would, should we say, generate a lot of interesting headlines to talk about, but I don't think anyone in the Tory party would want him as leader. So we'll see what happens, but expect some sort of once again united core, maybe. If it doesn't happen this weekend, it might happen on Monday, or you'll see something, maybe a bigger united push. But I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a lot of you know, the usual crowd calling for Rishi to go. Oh, hang on. Let's try get over here successfully. Oh, squelch, squelch, squelch. There we go. Oh, it would be, yeah, it would be Boris times 10 if Lee Anderson became Prime Minister. Oh. Anyway, that's enough about talking about the Tory chaos, at least for now. Let's get on to what's just happened in Russia, because honestly, this will potentially have a lot of problems for Putin. Because here's the thing, there's two options here. Either A, Putin is generally going around bumping off his rivals, which, to be honest, it's the fair bet he probably is. Or if you're one of these Vatnik tankies, Putin just happens to be the most luckiest politician in the world, because his opposition just keeps on dying. Very conveniently. So obviously we're talking about the death of Alexei Navalny, and this was pretty much the only effective opposition leader in Russia, and he represented probably the biggest threat to Putin. Putin is constantly scared that someone might rise up and take, and take his, take his place. And Putin has been very traditionally scared that this person is going to come from the army. And that's why he has completely gutted all the, the effectiveness of what you should have if you want an effective army, because he doesn't want anyone rising from those ranks to challenge him. That's where he's always sort of seen that potential opposition coming from. However, with Navalny, there is an effective opposition leader. And he released I think it was in 2001. You can still find it on YouTube, actually. A thing called Putin's Palace. And the entire video was essentially a takedown and critique of the leader's wealth, power, opulence, and the fact that, hey, he's got all this stuff. What have you got in Russia? And this is when that was released, he got arrested. And a lot of people said at the time, this could very well be a ticking clock for him. Unfortunately, it looks like that was the case for many people. And it was a genuine hope, a lot of people's genuine hope, that this guy would be eventually the guy to replace Putin. And he probably would have done a decent job. However, of course, Russia, pretty much, oligarch state. Even if he had, quote, won legitimately, the oligarchs would have, shall we say, taken him into a room and said, right, we're going to allow you to do this, and this. But if you do this, this, or this, we're going to take you out. I have no doubt in my mind that's what would have happened had he, of course, won. And the thing you've got to understand about these Russian elections is they are all stage managed. So they make a big song and dance of, we are a democratic country, we elect our leaders, this is the Russian democratic process at work. Look how good and amazing it is. But that's not the reality. The reality is that Putin was always going to win the next election. And what it is managing the expectations of the Russian people. So Putin might win 80-20 with like a turnout of 70%. And what it is the Putin and Russian government has to be able to convince the Russian people that that's what happened, that was the genuine result. And so far, they've always managed to just convince people that was the case. Last time they had an election, there were bits of protesting, but, well, Putin deployed the police and, well, quickly put a stop to, there we go, quickly put a stop to any of these protests. Oh, this is where we find out who got a hole in my welly. Nope. We survive dry socks for another day. So he's got to be able to convince the Russian people that, this was the genuine result. This was how I won. I'm the legitimate leader. Even though, well, the election's results fixed, essentially. And Navalny had come along and had proven to be somewhat of an effective, opposition leader. He was rising in the polls. He was coordinating an effective opposition more so than anyone else before. And obviously, at that point, he becomes a threat. And of course, Putin cannot have anyone challenging his authority, or if there is an election, he can't really have anyone coming out and, shall we say, challenging the results of said election. So Navalny's a threat. He releases this documentary, gets a lot of support, gets arrested, and now, as we found out yesterday, he mysteriously died in prison. He went out for a walk, from what we, again, bear in mind, this is the Russian prison service saying this. So take this statement with a grain of salt of what they're saying. He comes out He goes out for a walk, comes back complaining of stomach ache, and then would later die. Now, obviously, everything about that is incredibly suspicious, and we should not take anything that, you know, is said about, I think, his death quite honestly seriously, because it's very evident that's not what happened. Hang on, let's try and there we go. There we go. So the big question is now, what does this mean for Russia? What does this mean for Ukraine? What does this mean for a whole range of things? Well, let's start off with the obvious one. Will this actually sharpen Republicans' minds when it comes to... It's the bad thing about these wellies. There we go. Whatever. So will this actually now sharpen Republicans' minds? Will this, you know, speed up the process? I think this is going to help in some way in that. I do think that. The question is how much, and how can the Democrats really turn on, especially turn on Trump and turn on those other, you know, Republicans that are still refusing to move. You might have seen on Twitter the hashtag Moscow Mike, and the Republicans do not like that. They do not like the fact that that is trending. They do not like the fact that when it comes to Ukraine aid, there is still a majority for support from not only the US public, but from you know, House and Senate support as well. It's just these few holdouts that are desperately trying to hang on to stop this from happening. It is their sincere belief. It is their sincere belief that they can turn this somehow into a disaster for Biden, and thus say, oh well, this would have never have happened if Trump was in charge, thus making another, should we say, nice and convenient play for Trump to say during the election. Give him a bit of a boost, shall we say. And make no mistake, when Trump is on the campaign trail now, he will deploy his usual boast that he can end this war in 24 hours. Of course, he won't exactly say what this deal is or how he intends to, you know, finish this off in like 24 hours. But again, like I say, it's Trump. The reality that he has some sort of plan is a pretty long shot. I don't think he has a plan at all. I think it's just his big, as always, his big bluff and play for power on that. Ben, whenever I hear someone's fears of having their authority challenged, I can't help the words of fear of Cartman. Exactly. Yep, Craig, yep. The fact that this happened now shows how weak Putin is, and it's all because of the war in Ukraine. All because of the war in Ukraine. You know, with Putin going into an election, his hope is that he can somehow outlast the West, make them, you know, fearful of this, Russia is, and Putin has been prepared for some time about the, potential sanctions on Russia. I have to forgive me because I went through a pretty muddy part, so if I miss anything in the chat or anything like that, please do forgive me. Like I say, I'm trying to stay upright. So it does go to the whole core of Putin's power. And one of the interesting things I think that should be still talked about, of course, is the death of Prigozhin. Because Putin made a deal with Prigozhin that he wouldn't be touched. And this was someone in his inner circle. Of course, until the coup happened, or at least the mutiny, shall we say, not coup. Yep, you are right, Maggie Pie. Had there been coordinated international support for Poland in 39? Yeah. Well, had there been, international coordinated support against, Anschluss or Czechoslovakia. There's a lot of points where if the Allies had maybe gotten in first, maybe the Second World War wouldn't have happened at all. Who knows? It's the great what if question. There's many people who will write books and essays on these great what if questions. But this is probably the great what if question. Now that Putin's opposition is gone, is going to cause a lot of international condemnation. Will this speed up aid for Ukraine? I hope so. I genuinely hope so. Because we've heard, of course, this morning as well, the Ukrainians are withdrawing from hang on, let me say this now properly. Adivka. I don't think I pronounced that right, but and this would mark the first territorial gain that the Russians have had since Bakhmut, and even then Bakhmut was questionably still not in fully their control. But Putin will take this as a win. He will celebrate this as a massive propaganda win. And one of the reasons why they were able to do this and take Avdiivka, why the Ukrainians weren't able to hold off the Russians, is because of that lack of support, that lack of military support, that, the ammo shortages that this delay had caused. And remember, it's already been delayed by 3 months. So this should have been passed a long time ago. There's been this 3-month delay, and it's already showing having problems in the line. So it just goes to show you how important that support to the Ukrainians really is on this front. And it repeats the phrase that I always say every single time: if you give the Ukrainians what they need, they can get the job done. So my hope is certainly that this will help speed things up. This will sort of change the minds of these, Republicans, looking and, should we say, searching basically for a victory over Joe Biden. Not even really understanding, the implications of withholding this stuff. So this is where the fight comes in between. Hang on, walked into a spider web. There we go. This is where it goes. That they had this fight between David Cameron and Marjorie Taylor Greene, which, again, never a fight I wanted or thought I wanted, but it's bizarre. Nearly, nearly. You know, it's bizarre, as I said before, that I'm on the side of Cameron on this, because, you know, he's right. You know, we've seen what happens when you appease people like Putin. It doesn't end well, and of course it leads them to coming, you know, back for more. And one of the things that the Ukrainians are really looking for is guarantees that Russia won't do this again. And that's why they want to join NATO. But of course, one of the big problems that has stopped Ukraine from joining NATO in the past, even before you know, the Russians took Crimea, was the whole Transnistria situation, which is why Moldova hasn't been able to join NATO. And I'm going to be doing a video, recording one later. Yeah, MGT is nuts. Oh boy, is she nuts. And the worst thing is, she's just one of them. And yet the Republicans keep on electing these absolutely crazy fools. And this all goes back to the Tea Party era of indulging these people, not challenging them seriously, and then you end up with your party, you know, in the grip of this hysteria. And in fact, there's many people who are saying that if you remember the whole speaker chaos that we had just a couple of months ago, all that could kick off again. Yeah, US unexceptionalism. Oh. But this is where, there we go. This is where all these things all become very interconnected. Because the big worry is the Estonian intelligence that we've had. That Russia is preparing in the next 10 years for a fight against NATO. And I think that we've got to take that information, you know, somewhat seriously. Well, we've got to take it very seriously, to be honest. Because if he's going to go anywhere, then he's going to go probably into one of the Baltic countries, if not all of them at once, maybe. And then it's, you know, Article 5, baby. Then of course, then that becomes a problem where if Donald Trump's elected, Donald Trump will just go, no, thank you, we're not getting involved. So there are very, very serious concerns about what happens, you know, if Trump wins. I've said before a couple of times, a couple of videos this week, and we've talked about this. You know, November's a long time to hold your breath for. It's a very long time to hold your breath for. So we can only hope as I said before, that this narrows the minds of these Republicans, and that they really go after these people in quite a significant way. Because there are Republicans who do get it, who do get the need and the understanding, for why they need to stand up now, which, again, okay, good, broken clock right twice a day, right? But unfortunately, it's just, the House is just in so much chaos at the moment, caused by these Trump Republicans who don't want this bill to pass because they want to use it as an example of, only Trump is, strong enough on a defensive, on like, a national foreign policy front. We have to have Trump to be, a strong America. That's what I get the impression that they're going to go for during the election. Of course, this is what they're doing at the moment. Doesn't, shall we say, send a very strong impression of them supporting a potential ally. Blue Badger, good morning to you. A lot better. We've got past the cow, at least for now. We'll see if we can get past them this time. Oh. Stuck in the mud. There we go. Yeah, Putin's ally, not NATO's ally. Exactly. Oh, there we go. This mud is a bit tricky this morning. Probably shouldn't have gone this way, but oh well. We made the decision. We soldier on, but we're nearly at the end of it now. There we go. But yeah, I'm also going to be doing a video today responding to a piece in the Morning Star, the UK's socialist newspaper, where one of the people who writes for the newspaper wrote a part saying that, it's it is the NATO expansion that's responsible for all this. Wait, what? What? So yeah, I'm gonna have some fun with that today. So that might be a bit of a long one or a long video, so I will put that out probably as a live stream for later on for you all to enjoy. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it's a very tanky thing to say. Yeah, exactly, Maggie. Yeah, Putin can be reasoned with. Putin can be reasoned with, guys. He's totally reasonable. It's not the fact that, there was Putin's broken 3 treaties with Ukraine already. Yeah, that's totally not a problem. Yeah, he's totally not going to do this again if we declare some sort of peace. So yeah, like I say, we're going to have some fun with some tankies later today, so look out for that. Also, as you know, I did a video about George Galloway in Rochdale, and yeah, the Galloway supporters have now found me. Yeah, the Galloway supporters have now found me, which is making for some interesting comments. So I maybe might do a video about that. I don't know, we'll see. Oh. Oh. I'm so glad I'm wearing an old pair of jeans, because honestly, it is. Let's at least give these wellies a bit of a wash. Let's wash off a bit of the excess mud. There we go. There we go. Right. Now, hopefully the cows ain't going to be a problem as we go back this way. If they are, I don't know what we'll do. Cavalan, goodbye to now. Oh, hang on. Craig, there's also nuclear proliferation issues. If countries start seeing nuclear deterrent as a security requirement again, we may well, they say, well, we got Ukraine to give up their nukes based on security guarantees. Yeah, exactly. This is something a lot of people have been saying, you know, Ukraine gave up its nukes for security guarantees, and you've got countries like Guyana at the moment and Venezuela, you know, staring each other down. Guyana might go, well, actually, if we had a nuclear weapon, maybe Venezuela wouldn't be doing this, which of course creates the problem of more nuclear weapons in the world. So this is, you know, if you are you know, against nuclear weapons, then you know you need to be supporting Ukraine. You know, you need to be supporting things like defensive alliances like, you know, NATO, etc. And like I say, going to be fun. Because I can tell you now, if I do this, I can tell you the tankies and the vatniks are going to have a swarm and descend. And that'll be fun. Where do you find comfy wellies, by the way? I wear inserts. I have like these little inserts that make them a bit comfier. I don't know if you can see them actually. It's these, and that goes in there. That makes the wellies a bit more comfy to wear. But that would be my advice. It's not the wellies itself, it's like the inserts that you can get. Makes them a bit more comfy. But I do need a new pair of these inserts because they are wearing out, unfortunately, because I've worn them a fair bit. So they do need replacing at some point. Yeah, just imagine if Putin goes senile too. Well, there's a lot of people that said, you know, during COVID, Putin went a bit senile because he was terrified of COVID, so he went into isolation. And there's a lot of the Russia watchers that have said that's part of the reason why he ended up making this really bad decision to go into Ukraine. Push some of that blue sky a bit further north. I don't think it's going to be blue skying for long. Ben Ridings, what are tankies and vatniks? They're essentially the same thing. What it is someone who is on the left, but they are, shall we say, supporters of Russia. They believe that, you know, they believe the Putin propaganda, that NATO is responsible for this war, that there are, you know, that Ukraine is like this Nazi government. Unfortunately, these people do exist. And yes, you'll probably find out more about them this afternoon, because I'm probably going to have to do a brief history of what a tanky is, because they are the same thing, it's just a different phrase on that front. RG, Yorkshireman in California, well, good morning to you. Craig, there's already talk of Europe needing a non-US nuclear deterrent, the same style and the same types who apologise for Putin will go all complete CDN on the issue. Yep, I do agree on that. I think we do need some sort of, European deterrent on that. It's just talking and get it issued. I think if Trump gets in, well, that's gonna sharpen a lot of minds. Right. Luckily, we'll just close this so that you don't go this way. We haven't had many ponies recently because, unfortunately, what the farmer has done is he's moved these cows permanently now into this field. And I don't know if you can see just over there, the ponies have now been moved into that other field. So don't worry, we will go give the ponies a visit at some point in the future. Don't worry about that. It's just the weather and the mud needs to be a bit more suitable for us to go in that direction. So yeah, that's the problem with that. Carlos, what would a victory against a nuclear super Russia look like? Probably not very well. But then again, Putin has been constantly saber-rattling, saying, I'll launch a nuclear missile. And we've crossed a ton of red lines, giving Ukraine equipment from the Storm Shadows to the Attackams to Western tanks. And of course, now we are equipping them with F-16s. And the hope is that when those F-16 pilots are now trained, they're going to come hopefully online, and their training will be about the end of this year. But when you get those F-16s online, that means that there's a big possibility that Ukraine might be able to get air superiority. And if Ukraine gets air superiority in this fight, then things change on the battlefield dramatically if that's the case. So, fingers crossed for something like that to happen. Hopefully in the not too distant future. Craig, tankies reference to people who excuse the USR for sending tanks to crush rebellions in Eastern European. Yep. Sabine, good morning to you. Don't mind. Yeah, it's the cow club now. Exactly. Maybe I need to change it to that. Maybe I need to change it to that. Good way to get back into the EU circle, mutual defence. Really is needed for a solution. Yep. I think that is something a lot of Europeans are now realising. Rebuilding a sort of a European defence and arms industry, because from pretty much the 80s to the 90s to the 2000s, we've let a lot of that capacity go over to America, and there now is very obviously a need to get these facilities back over here, back in Europe. Denmark recently is reconverting a artillery factory from what used to be officers back into an artillery factory. I know that's happening in Denmark, but you've got places like Czechoslovakia that have basically got an artillery factory working literally round the clock to not only give shells to Ukraine but to NATO members as well. We need more factories like that to be producing these parts, these things. And again, as I've said before, if we aim for 4%, a big part of that military budget would essentially be bringing back that capacity to the UK. And if we did that, that would also create a lot of jobs especially if you've moved, brought a lot of that manufacturing capability to the north, and the north does have that spare manufacturing capability that you know, you would need if you are going to sort of rebuild not only a European defence industry but also a UK defence industry as well, because we are very, very focused on aeronautics. Unfortunately, not so much a lot of other things. So it does need to be massively rebuilt on so many levels on that front. Yeah, Fallout gives a good idea. Yeah, very true. Very true. The UK upping its arm industry isn't something I thought I would be needed, but economically it would be very good for us. Yes, it would. Like I say, it would provide a lot of jobs. And of course, if you have an integrated sort of European defence pact and a sort of we go sort of more sort of NATO standardisation, that is going to be a big effort and a boost to places like NATO, big boost to sort of the UK, but also a lot of relief to a lot of people, especially in Eastern Europe. So that will be something that would be very much needed. Yeah, the North has a lot of wasted spare talent. It does, unfortunately. And that's the big thing, where you've had two Conservative governments, the Cameron government, which had the Northern Powerhouse idea. Again, really good idea. They just never executed it. And again, same for levelling up. If levelling up, if they'd actually gone in for it, if it had actually worked, they've actually given a damn about the North. Put it this way, they wouldn't be in this situation. But again, it does show, of course, that having an industrial strategy, rebuilding the industrial sort of capabilities of sort of the UK in a ton of areas, not only just defence industry, but green economically, a whole ton of areas that are now open up to Labour. If we're, you know, I say if, I'm still saying if, but you know, might be a bit, you know, when. Build HS2, exactly, we should build HS2. So much stuff. You know, there is just, you know, opportunity to do stuff, and we've talked about HS2 on this channel I don't know how many times about the benefits that building HS2 would bring. But there you go. Yeah, I wonder what the state, yeah, exactly. I don't think it's very good at all. Pretty, oh, sorry, morning. So, yeah. They look so bedraggled, these ponies, they really do. But, as always, thank you very much, of course, for joining me today. Like I say, if you want to keep an eye out for the for the video, that's going to be quite fun. And of course, as always, thank you very much for joining me today. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time. Ooh.